The adventure of a lifetime.
Alrighty, welcome back. Today we're gonna do episode 4, and we'll go through, leaving off at the Knutson Dam in the last episode, so we'll be starting there and continuing on the river. Hey Dan, welcome. I knew you'd make it eventually.
Day 5. Confirmed. Leaving the absolutely mosquito-infested campsite of the Knutson Dam area. I've been wearing the bug net since I got here, except for when I was in my tent. And yeah, just jeez, awful. They're terrible here, and they don't get dissuaded by bug spray either. So there was an interesting post on the paddlers page today, and basically it was kind of a call out to kind of reconsider doing the entire Mississippi this year because of flooding and more rain forecasted, which is going to make the flooding even worse. It's already like they're closing parts of the Mississippi that they don't do that, unless it's bad, and it's just not getting better. So it's heartbreaking. It really is.
Yeah. So at this point, just leaving Cass Lake here, and this was a heavy flood year, of course. Said that many times in the series, but there was a post on the paddlers page this morning that had said that anybody that's planning on doing the river this year or considering doing the river this year maybe should reconsider. The floodwaters are really high. They're closing down locks. There's pictures, airborne pictures of like the Army Corps of Engineers took or other people took, where literally the water was going over the top of the lock gates. It was so high. And so you got this huge river, and in the middle of this picture is this little bitty lock and dam. Just really goes to speak to how flooded it actually was. And it was tough. It was tough to think there was that much water downstream and that we were going to be trying to paddle right through it. But I'm thinking I'm not going to be able to just cut right across. But as anything, we'll have to see what it looks like when we get there. So just kind of a neat little thing that you may not know. So on the right side of the screen where my cursor is here, this is the river, and then on the left side here is actually a little kind of a little diversion channel that I don't know if it's really necessary anymore now that they removed the dam here, but water will flow through there as well. You can't actually go through there. You'd have to portage there as well. But yeah, so the Mississippi is actually over here. Cass Lake is just around that bend, and then this is just a little offshoot. The campground that we stayed at was right on the bank of this little cut through, so it was just kind of a nice little place to launch. Pretty much an update for day 5 here. Not all the best news.
but we'll simply see how things go.
Of course, that crystal clear water.
We'll paddle on.
I just could never help but film that clear water up there. It's so nice. So the story with this, I guess this is a burned down bridge, and I can't remember the year, but apparently this thing caught fire and the whole thing went up in flames, and it's just kind of a neat little landmark. It's right before you get into like a huge wetland area, massive area that it sometimes can be kind of tricky to navigate, but just kind of a cool landmark.
You paddle from lake.
I'll tell you, when you see that little flag come up, you know you're coming up on Lake Winnie. It's a pretty good feeling.
And boom, the outlet to Lake Winnipeg. Biggest expanse of water I ever plan on kayaking.
It's pretty cool actually, because you'll see that little opening to the lake, and it's just as far as you can see. There's no shoreline across the lake for quite a while until you start to actually get up into the lake. Then you can start to see just a pencil thin shoreline all the way over there. It really does kind of wake you up to just how far that paddle's going to be. This would be heading north on the west shoreline.
Alrighty, so we're out on big old Lake Winnie. There's a wind coming out of the north, go figure. So crossing and straight across is not going to be possible this time. Looks like we're going to basically be traveling the west and then along the north shore to get around this guy. So it will probably take a better part of the day. We left the point coming out of the river at 2:12. So it's just going to be a long grind, and we're going to get a nice long look at the shoreline. So looks just as big as last time, just as clear. It's just such a beautiful area. I love being up here.
It is too. This lake is also just crystal clear. I mean, it's just so nice.
The sad part is knowing
you can see, like I remember seeing perch everywhere on the bottom of the lake.
Portage straight up the hill by the dam. So, but this will be a grind. We'll make it. What choice do we have?
Crossing Lake Winnipeg with any amount of wind can be extremely dangerous. So if you decide to go straight across, be ready for the possibility of very large waves that can swamp your boat. At 6.5 miles across at its narrowest point, if you were to capsize in the middle of the lake, you would be over 3 miles from shore, and there is a good chance no one will know you are out there. So please, be very careful. For whatever reason, I don't have any footage of me crossing Lake Winnie on this trip, so here is a clip from my 2018 Headwaters trip where I showed the view from the middle of the lake.
Still out here, but here's what it looks like.
So yeah, so I don't know what happened, and I don't know why I didn't have any footage while I was crossing the lake, but the wind and everything finally broke, and I decided to just cross the lake because after paddling the shoreline for a couple hours, you're kind of just ready to be done with this lake. And it's funny, you can actually look on my GPS track, and I get about halfway across the lake. I'm probably 2 miles from the north shore and countless miles from all the other shores, 3 miles from each west and east shore. But all of a sudden, this huge burst of wind, or this huge gust of wind, came across the lake from the north, and just immediately created waves, and it scared the death out of me because getting stuck on this lake in high winds is very dangerous. And I didn't have Daryl and Jonathan with me at this point. Obviously I was in the kayak, so I was a little faster than they were, but we just agreed that we'd see each other on the other side of the lake, and if you decide to cross, it'd be on you and your decision. And so yeah, you can see actually on my GPS track, I'm about halfway across, that wind blows, and you can see I take a direct right angle turn to that north shore and started paddling because I wanted to get off that lake. and I paddled like that for just a couple of minutes, and then the wind broke again, and it was gone. And so it was just a really good reminder that don't take nature for granted, because at any moment it could change everything. But just kind of an interesting little thing that happened out there. I did end up going back east again and then finishing my transit of the lake. So. Hey Rick, how are you? After paddling the west shore for a while, the winds break and we get calm waters. I make the decision to cross the lake and made it with no issues.
Alright, I've just landed here at the east side of Lake Winnie. 5 minutes ago or so. I laid in the boat for a few minutes. Pretty tired. This lake, man. This is my second time paddling across it, and God willing, my last. I text my wife through the GPS, told her to reserve me a spot here at the Winnie Dam Rec area, and she did. Site 8. Rock on. And yeah, I cannot wait to get to it. I don't know where the paddlers are, Daryl and Jonathan. So hopefully they make it here tonight and they can stick here with me. So aside from that, I am gonna get doing and get this boat up this hill so I can get dinner going. I am starving.
Yeah, you'll be hungry when you're done with this this paddle. I thought I'd just show you. So Lake Winnie right here. If you were to look at the DNR maps, they kind of do something like this to show like the path of the river, and then it ends right here. So this is where the Mississippi comes out. This is that big wetland, and then usually the shortest distance is right here. I think this is called Ravens Point. It's actually an island. I think there's a old campsite there. There's an old lean-to shelter and everything. I think it's doable if you needed to stop on the lake. But I think right here is your shortest distance across. It's 6.5 miles, and then you just kind of complete this jaunt up here, and your landing is actually right next to the dam, a lot closer than you'd think, which is kind of a common occurrence. So the dam is right here, and you're actually getting out right here, that Winnie campground. So yeah, you'll pull out like right here in this area. These trees are gone now, and then this is the campground. And so it costs money to stay here, but you can stay here. There's electricity and stuff if you get the right spot. And then yeah, there's a boat launch right here. You can get back on the river. So yeah, Rick, happy New Year to you. Living a dream, enjoying retirement. Good for you, man. Congratulations. I hope everybody had a great New Year. Actually, it was it's a good one to get past. So moving on, right? But anyway, so that's Lake Winnie. You get past this huge bay and pull out here. Here's a campground if you need it. Otherwise, you just jump back on the river right here and continue on down. So what do I do with my video now? Boom. So if you do end up stopping at the Winnie Dam and you call ahead to get a spot reserved, these are the numbers they'll need. I think they use this number right here to identify the campground. So jot that down, or otherwise it's right when you walk in the campground too. So. All right, day 6 on the Mississippi River. Leaving the Winnie Dam campsite. I'm definitely tired. I don't sleep good, which makes the next morning rough. Once I get paddling, I kind of perk up a little bit, so that makes it better. Yeah, I made the big crossing across Winnie yesterday, and today hopefully the current will just kind of carry me where I need to go. I got a couple of river angels along the way that I want to stop and say hi to, and we'll do that and continue on. My canoeing buddies are gonna take off. Well, they already took off, but they're a little ahead of me, and I don't think they're gonna make these stops, which is fine. They want to keep heading towards their goals for miles a day. They have a set schedule. I don't. So, but yeah, that's the update for the day. So it's just a day of heading on down river, not lakes, down river. That's awesome. Yeah, so that day, I mean, you cross Wolf Lake, you cross Andrusia, and then Cass, or at least that's how I did it in all in one day. And then Lake Winnie the next day. And Lake Winnie is just a painful all day lake, but once you get past that, you're back out into the wilderness again, seemingly detached from everything, so it's just real nice after that. Good current again. You do go through like the little Lake Winnipeg, which even though it was a flood year, seemed pretty shallow to me, so at least where we thought the channel was, might have just been sandbars, but I had so much fun with Daryl and Jonathan. I can't even tell you. We had so much fun joking when we were going through these grasslands, and these grasslands just seem endless. And it was a blast. It was the rare time that I got an outside shot of me in the boat. I did that just a couple of times the entire trip, but yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Good morning. It is day 7 on the Mississippi River. We have been out here now for 1 week.
All right, so let's see here. So some of the maps. So this was Cass Lake to Lake Winnie. Again, somebody had asked for mileages a day, and my Strava app, I had it track most of my my route the entire way down the river. So this would have been the Knutson Dam area, and here's my track across Lake Winnie. Normally this is that Ravens Point. This is where I would want to cross, but I made it this far before I noticed, before the wind broke, and then I just went straight across. And that's a long distance, but you know, it's a risk to do that. But if you make it, then you cut a ton of time out of the trip. But so yeah, so that was the 5th day crossing Winnie, and then let's see here, day 6. So this is the Winnie campground all the way down to Leaning Oak Camp, and that's where we just left off here in the video. You go by I think it's Crow Wing State Park. There's a state park here, and they have a boat launch, and there was boats cruising up and down the river here, and for whatever reason they didn't feel that they needed to slow down. They were actually totally content just throwing waves on us, but nonetheless, 35 miles on that day from Winnie down to Leaning Oak. So, but yeah, someone requested these miles and maps, so there you go.
It is now June 7th, and we are leaving Leaning Willow campsite. It's up a steep little hill, and it's not mowed or maintained at all, so it's kind of a pain to get all your gear up there, but it's doable.
Yeah, it is. It's just up like this bank, and it's not really an easy access. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not easy. And mosquitoes like crazy. Be ready to be in your tent when you get there.
It was just non-stop buzzing from the little guys. They're just incredible how vicious they are, merciless. Today we should reach Grand Rapids, and that'll be our first portages in a while. We're going to go around the Pokegama Dam and the Blandon Paper Mill Dam. Pokegama's 44 yards on the map. The Blandon Dam is 1,200, so that one will be a little more involved. But got the wheels, so it shouldn't be too big a deal.
Tons of wildlife in this area, and you see those stacks on that power plant for quite a while before you actually get there. Like a day before, you'll see them way off in the distance.
That literally just saved me like half mile, 3/4 of a mile.
Schoolcraft, thank you. Tons and tons of wildlife back here. I spent more time probably filming this area than I did paddling it.
I might as well get these ducks that are nesting here on this island too. Quick, quick, quick. Aw.
So Cohasset is a small town just before Grand Rapids. We actually paddled up to a dock where there was some folks sitting there. It was their house, and just started chatting with them, and I was asking if it was safe to leave the boat under the overpass just downriver a ways, and I was still waiting for Daryl and Jonathan to catch up to me, and of course, after chatting with them for a while, you know, they very nice folks. They're like, well, why don't you just tie up here and you can leave the boat here and run into town real quick. And so it's like a mile walk or something. Some people who I share my GPS track ask me that. They're like, why'd your GPS track go way off the river and back? And it's because we were at the gas station where they had pizza. That was huge. And then ran to that Dollar General store and picked up some supplies. I didn't need much. I always like fresh water. I got fresh water. But yeah, we loaded up on junk food. It was just a real good break. And so this is the only time you're going to see this sign is portage assistance. And so what the deal is with that is when the power companies that built these dams built them, they had to make an agreement with people that they would offer a way for people to get around these dams, and that was one of their obligations, to build these dams and block off the river, because this is a water trail. I mean, it's made for, you know, it's there for people to paddle and enjoy too. And so they had set up this sign that you could call them, and then they would come out and bring you around either this dam or both dams. Typically both dams, because this one's not hard to portage. You miss a couple miles of river, not a big deal. They said that they had some budget constraints. This was my understanding. They were going to cut off that service. Well, a couple river angels that live in the area are now the ones who will do that service. It is a completely volunteer service that they do just out of the kindness of their hearts. And so if you need help getting around these dams, reach out to them. But yeah, no, that's pretty awesome of them to keep it up. Portage is a little goofy on this one. It's through these yards. There was these kids here playing. I mean, they're like 5, 8 years old, whatever they are. And they're like, hi, you must be portaging. Here's how you do it. And then I got these little kids that were telling me, you know, they're like, hey, you go down here, you take a right, you take a left, you go down this road, you do this, you go through the stoplight. So obviously these kids have seen plenty of people do this portage, but they knew it, man. It was pretty cool to have them there. But yeah, you pull out in people's backyards and you're walking through their backyards, but everyone I dealt with was super nice. And yeah, it's a long walk. The Blandon Dam is just a long one. It'd be brutal to do it without wheels or without assistance.
Alright, so we just finished the portage around the Blandon
So
Dam.
then this is always kind of, this is one of those weird
portage assistance sign at the beginning
scenes, because you can see them obviously looking at something.
And down to the landing.
And so what it was is there's actually, you can see it down here, it's a construction zone. It specifically says do not enter, but it's a boat launch, and there's nowhere else for me to launch here. Like, I'd have to go, you know, a mile back up to the bridge, back over the bridge, a mile back down. It wasn't happening. So I crossed over the construction barrier here, which there was nothing there. It was just one of those little plastic orange fences, and this older gentleman pulled up in his car and saw me, and he was just sitting there hard staring at me, picked up his phone, made a call. I can only assume that he was probably calling the police on me, but so I shot this scene as quick as I could and hit the river.
Do the actual portage just to show what it would be like if you decided to do it. So it's about a 1,200 yard portage, and
far cry from
you basically
Indiana
walk
Jones,
through the town, across a busy street, and end up downriver of the dam. I can't get you the best shot of it, but that is the bridge just downriver from the dam, and the dam is right behind it. So
good to know, Rick. That must be 169 right there with the bridge then.
Yeah,
huh?
you know, if you don't have wheels, I highly recommend you getting the portage assistance. If you do have wheels, it's doable, but it is still tough. So alright guys, so we just finished the second portage and Grand Rapids, Blandon Dam. We went around Pokegama and Blandon Dam. Now we are heading downriver to our campsite, just about 6 miles or so. We're going to stop at Sutures tonight, and yeah, just call it a day. Sounds like my wife's going to come up on Saturday, tomorrow, and maybe get a hotel, and then stay again with me on Sunday. So I'll be able to get a day off the river and get in, shower, food, resupply, and then I'll be back out on the water. So yeah, that's the deal. This is what it looks like downriver from the Blandon Dam. Just nice and peaceful and calm, and it's just kind of nice to be.
That's good to know, Rick, and that's unfortunate too because that stoplight actually is what helped me get across that road. It was busy, 169. I actually didn't know 169 went all the way up there, but yeah, that's unfortunate because that was a nice little crosswalk right there.
You passed those, so that's about all I got for now.
Yeah, it is a long one. It really is. These cattle, man, I saw the happiest cattle along this river. It is a long portage. Definitely want to map it out before you go. There is no signs, as far as I can recall, to kind of point you in the right direction. So you definitely want to make sure you know where you're going. You know, in a nutshell, all you ever want to really do is just get back to the river. So just keep, you know, trying to circle back as much as you can. Or if you want, just try the portage assistance. I mean, maybe you can just get a ride around. Yeah, I had to do some fishing. There was little smallmouth bass sitting here, and I tried and tried and tried, but I just could not get them to hold on when I got them. So, would you guys be interested in doing another one tonight? We can definitely do another episode. I don't mind doing it. Let's see here. Here is what day was that? It's day 7. So, yeah, roughly that Leaning Willow all the way to Sutures. You can see there, that's where we ran into town, but yeah, paddled the whole river there and then portaged the whole dam. I didn't get the assistance at all or anything, so yeah, sure, we can do the next one. That's all good. I pulled the next set of maps anyway, so I thought just in case we wanted to do them. Let me get it opened up here.
Alright, it's not every day. In the last episode, we surpassed the 1 week mark paddling down the Mississippi River on our way to the Gulf of Mexico. Let's take a look at our progress and the overall scale of the trip. We are now just downriver from Grand Rapids, Minnesota at Sutures Campsite, making good progress as the river completes its easterly trek across northern Minnesota and begins to head in a more southerly direction. At just around 170 miles traveled on the river of the roughly 2,300, there is still a long way to go. So let's get back out there and enjoy the river. Good morning, day 8 on the Mississippi River, leaving Sutures Campsite. We are through Grand Rapids, we are through the 2 dams in Grand Rapids, and now heading downriver.
Hey Gabriel, absolutely, man. Let me know. I'd love to follow your journeys too. You know,
more campsites on the road.
I enjoy watching others do the trips as much as I enjoy doing them. So definitely let me know.
And my plan is I'm going to stop at Swimming Bear, spend the night, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 miles or so more downriver is a boat landing.
See, I was kind of interested too. Like one of the things that was really neat was there was it was the I can't remember what it's called, the river that comes in from Leech Lake River maybe. That is when we lost our clear water, and I never again saw the bottom of the river. It came in all silty. It was that clear line for a while. You could see the 2 river confluences kind of mixing. And once they mixed, that was it for the bottom of the river. I never saw it again. So just kind of a neat thing.
I switched over to my lighter weight sleeping bag. So a couple changes. Hopefully they'll be good changes, and it should lighten my load up quite a bit too. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing her. Looking forward to getting on downriver. No dams for a couple days, it sounds like. So I'm pretty happy about that. Probably going to be my last day paddling with Daryl and Jonathan. They're going to keep on going while I'm taking a little siesta in town. So yeah, it was good paddling with them. They are good paddling partners. So help each other out, and it was a good partnership. So aside from that, we are just heading on down.
You know, there's 100 different ways you can do the trip on any given day, and I will always wonder how much different my trip would have been had I stuck with Daryl and Jonathan and continued on with them. We kept in touch pretty much at least once every couple days. We'd talk, and you know, they'd always give feedback on what was coming up, how flooded the river was and everything. We kept in pretty regular contact. We'd text all the time. And yeah, I enjoyed paddling with them too. Those guys were a lot of fun, and I actually kind of gave them an unofficial invite to do another river with me this coming summer. We'll see if they feel like coming up to do it. Be a little bit of a drive for them to get there, but it'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun.
After paddling around 22.5 miles for the day, I reached
Blanchard Dam, it is a pain. Having wheels is huge, but there's no way around it. Blanchard Dam is a long portage. One thing that I just tell people is you got to get it right in your head that you're going to do the portages. They're just part of the trip. And being angry that you're doing them or upset that you're portaging at all, it's just not going to help you. So just be ready to do them. Blanchard, Blanchard is probably the worst one, I think, just due to distance and obstacles. But Blandon Dam was probably one of the longer, hotter ones just because it was on open streets and traffic and stuff. But I don't know. Every portage was unique, and so I enjoyed doing them anyway. It was part of the trip, and every time I finished a portage, it was an accomplishment. So I didn't get too upset doing the portages.
Swimming Bear campsite. I said my goodbyes and good lucks to Daryl and Jonathan as they paddled by and got myself settled into camp for the night. Alright, so tonight I am just far too tired to want to cook, so I'm not going to. So what kind of things have I been eating on the river? Well, tonight I am going to be doing canned chicken and canned beans. And I'm too lazy to start a fire, and I'm too lazy to cook, so it's just going to be eaten cold right out of the can. And it still tastes really good, because after paddling all day, you're pretty much starved to death. You burn so many calories while you're paddling. And you can snack along the way, but it's just not enough to recover what you burned. So what do I eat? Well, I've been eating a lot of granola bars and almonds and trail mix and stuff while I'm on the river. A lot of beef jerky.
So many people get caught up in what kind of food to bring and what should you eat every day. Just eat something. Even like oatmeal cream pie cookies or brownies with those giant sprinkle things. Just something. The carbs in there will be huge for you too. Help with all the muscle loss and gaining and burning you're going to be doing. You really do tax the body quite a bit by paddling all day, and just eat anything you can. Anything that's shelf stable, that is cooked or just sealed in a can. Obviously like the Mountain House meals or MREs, whatever you got. The ground beef, mashed potatoes, that was really good, but you have to dehydrate the ground beef, takes time. Pastas, anything that you can cook. You can get plastic egg containers, carry like a dozen or half dozen eggs in them. That's nice. You can get that microwave bacon and just throw it in the pan too and just warm it up. We are truly in the best time ever to have options for food because there's just so many.
Day 9 on the Mississippi.
And let's see here. So that would have been day 8. Sutures to Swimming Bear. And there it is. So that's 22.5 miles basically. That's what it looks like. You see how much time you spend going back and forth. But that's the track. That's the miles. And of course, I always lose my video when I do this.
Mississippi River. Should be a good day today. I'm gonna try to get packed up quickly and get on the water. I got about an hour's paddle, and I'm gonna meet up with my wife, who's gonna bring me to a hotel for the day. We're gonna eat. I'm gonna shower. I'm gonna probably rest and refill my waters and get ready to go again the next day. So should be a good day. Hopefully, we got rain coming, so I'm gonna try to get on moving and get going before it gets here. Yeah, it was a nice night. I slept really good. Swimming Bear campsite is where I'm at, and again, here's the view. Upriver, downriver. So the landing is actually way down there, down that little trail.
Yeah, Gabriel, definitely let me know when you start posting stuff.
Here.
I love to check it out.
pulled my boat all the way up here too, so I could have it nice and close, so it'd be easier to unload and load. But that's about all I got for now. I'll catch you on the river.
So this is one of those moments, like, I absolutely didn't need a break or a rest here, but since it was offered, how could you turn it down? And this is a tricky takeout here too. I mean, if you leave your boat on the water, it's not so bad, but pulling your boat out is kind of tricky here. And that campsite's actually a little up, the exit, or the takeout is actually a little upriver from the actual campsite. So it's just kind of a trickier one. Deer everywhere, there's so much wildlife in this area. I mean, this turtle, minding his own business, nothing going on, probably nobody ever here, and then I show up, make all this noise, put the camera in front of her, she just sat there and she did her thing while we did our thing. My wife and I drove to Deerwood, where we spent the night in a hotel together so I could get rested, resupplied, and back out on the river the next day.
All right, we are on day 10 and we are back on the river. Spent last night in a hotel with my wife. She came up from home and we stayed in Deer Park, which was just fine, I guess.
Here's the map for that. It was only 4 miles or 4.5 miles from Swimming Bear down to that landing. Not much. It was a pretty simple day.
Shower that was kind of cruddy, but it worked, and had a hot tub that I sat in, and then we had really good dinner and ate on the way back out to the river and everything. So it was nice. It was a nice little touch of home. I actually woke up in the bed and totally thought I was at my house. So funny, because it actually took me like a good 30 seconds to kind of remember that I wasn't at home. So just kind of an interesting thing, but got back out here, kind of a late start, but we took our time and kind of spent some time together, so it's always hard to say goodbye. But sounds like she might come up again Friday. I should be to Aiken by then, so yeah, see her again, I think.
Duck escort. These ducks, man, these mama ducks will flap around in the river looking like a wounded bird, and they will lead you a mile down river. They think they're leading you, but the babies will go hide on shore somewhere, the ducklings or whatever they are, and she'll escort you down the river, and once you're far enough away, she'll take off, she'll do a huge loop and head back. You'll never see her again. So I was actually going to stop at Mosquito Campsite this night, and I back paddled like 3 or 4 times back around trying to find that camp spot, and I could not find it. So I don't know if a tree came down over it or what happened, but I just couldn't find it. So I ended up stopping here. I really tried hard not to stay on people's property, and that's why I stayed here. It was getting kind of late in the day. I didn't want to go up this ramp. I thought this ramp was a terrible idea. But, just due to how late it was in the day and not being able to find a spot at Mosquito, I figured, what the heck, I'll just take it. And it is what it is. It was an experience. So that was actually the first night I actually heard wolves howling. And that was pretty cool because it's like pitch black, 3 a.m., I don't know what it was. Kind of all throughout the night there was stuff walking around in the woods around me. I could hear it, and I assumed they were deer. There was stuff splashing down on the river. I assumed they were beaver. And then, it was like 3 a.m. I started hearing a pack of wolves howling, and I don't know how far they were, but it was pretty clear that they were out there. And, I just felt like a giant bag of meat swinging in between 2 trees in the hammock. It was a cold night, and I didn't sleep the greatest, but yeah, it worked. It's all part of the experience.
Day 11.
Here's the, let's see. Here's wife's name is Erica. That's who that is. So 23.9 miles. That's from that little boat launch all the way down to the Verdon. I think Mosquito is like right here on this bend somewhere. So it's just downriver. It's not very far. Going off memory, but I think that's where it is. So that was 23.9 miles for that day.
Paddling on the Mississippi River. Interesting night last night. That boat launch was kind of a goofy one. Verdon has a staircase.
Yeah, Rick, I looked and looked and looked. I really wanted to stay there just because I love the name. It's so clever. But yeah, I'll have to I'll do the headwaters again someday. I have no doubt. And I have to find it because I just have to know where it is now.
All night there was stuff walking around me, and then I started hearing a pack of wolves howling. I know it wasn't coyotes. We have coyotes at my house, and they sounded nothing like coyotes. So that was interesting. That kind of kept me awake for a while. So I didn't sleep too great last night. Trying to get an early start today because we're supposed to have some storms coming in. I'm trying to make Scots Rapids or whatever campsite 20 miles or so away from where I was, and hunker down there for the rest of the day. Hopefully I can be there and by noon or so. Storms are supposed to roll in about 2.
Gabriel, that third boat that I was in was a current design Solstice GTS, a Kevlar
Hopefully it all
boat.
misses us. Hopefully, if nothing else, it's not severe weather. So.
Rick, if you have coordinates for me, I'd love to get those so I could actually see where it was. Yeah, no rush, Rick.
If you don't know what birch bark is, I recommend you learn. It'll save you some time. Alright, so this is Scots Rapids campsite. And the only thing I don't like about it is I gotta leave the boat way down here on the river, in the current, of course. But I've got it tied up a couple ways. Tied up there, wrapped her on the ground spike, tied up to there, got it locked to the tree, and tied up to that stump. So, shouldn't go anywhere. But we do have storms coming tonight, so that's kind of what I'm worried about. It's just tough to leave your boat out of sight where you can't immediately see if something's happening to it.
Gabriel, yeah. No, we were careful around the wind dams for sure, but most of them were actually well underwater because it was so flooded. And I mean, it kind of looks like some of the pictures I've seen from paddlers that went 2020 versus 2019. In some areas, I think the water was over 30 feet lower. So yeah, we had wind dams were so far underwater, there was just surface disturbance, and that was about it.
It's like this grass carpet under all the trees. It's really nice. It
was a really cool campground too. I'll tell you, none of the campgrounds were quite as neat as this one. It's just that clean look to it.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. Looks cool. You can actually see. So yeah, so we're just gonna hang out and maybe transfer some footage. And
yeah, so there's a big reason that the drone didn't have much of an appearance after Cass Lake. So we got to Lake Winnie, and I actually pulled off on the side of the lake, and I was going to set the drone up and get some really good shots of just how big Lake Winnie Begoshish is from the air. And what ended up happening is when I plugged the USB into the back of the controller for my phone, and I set it down, it actually pushed on that USB and it snapped the solder and the contacts off of the inside of the circuit board. And once that happened, I could no longer use my phone to see what the drone was seeing, and I didn't want to mess around with trying to fly the drone without my phone, having never done it before. And so when I was in Deer Park, I actually ran, or Deerwood or whatever it is, I actually ran into a hardware store, got a little screwdriver set, soldering kit, tore the entire controller apart, found the brake, tried to solder it back together, but it actually ripped part of the circuit board off, and so there was nothing I could do. It was unfortunate, but I put it up a couple of times just to give it a shot. But yeah, it was pretty unfortunate that I lost the drone. I did get replaced, but,
a little bit, so we'll have to just be ready for it. Switched out my 2-person tent for my 1-person tent, so it's going to be a little cramped in there now. Don't even have the opportunity to sit up anymore, so it'll feel like I'm pretty well crammed. So hopefully no lightning strikes close, and hopefully no winds get high. Yeah, it should be good to go, I think. So storm should be over by tonight, and then it should just be kind of on and off rain, it sounds like. So, but yeah, not a bad place. All right, so we are here at the Scots Rapids Campground. It's actually just campsite. It's just me here. It's a beautiful spot for sure, but we have some weather coming in, and it'll be here any moment. So I'm gonna try out the hammock and the tarp idea and see how that goes. I do have my little snug pack ionosphere set up, and I'll crawl into there before I go to bed. But I just thought it'd be nice to be up off the ground during the storm and see what it's like to be in a hammock and see if my tarp actually is long enough to cover it. So a lot of thunder with this thing coming in. I can hear it. I've been hearing it for over an hour now, and it is breaking up on radar, which I'm thankful for, but it's still on its way in. So
yeah, I actually never really, I think I stayed in the hammock one time at home, but I never had the opportunity to test it with rain because 2 weeks before I left on the trip, we had a blizzard. And so
storms are forecasted to be done by dark. However, throughout the entire night,
never tried it out, but it ended up working great. But I just didn't want to risk my first night sleeping in there in a pouring rain. And pour rain it did too. It rained like crazy.
Come on! That's going to do it for this episode. I hope you'll come back for episode 6 as I continue down the mighty Mississippi. We'll see you then.
And I knew for a fact that little ionosphere tent, those things are like bulletproof. I've never had an issue with those. They seem to hold up great. So, yeah, I knew I'd be safe in there. It's just cramped and small, but it works really well. I had never actually had done the Eskimo roll or anything. I was going to do all that testing before I left, but it was so cold in Minnesota before I went, and we had all that snow that I couldn't get out and try it. So, no, although I recommend to everybody before they go to learn how to get, flip your kayak back over, and I always recommend at least know how to swim out of it if it's upside down, and that I did know how to do. So that was always going to be my plan, is if I had to, I could just get out of the boat while it was upside down and, either swim back into it or swim it to shore. I've never done the Eskimo rolls. Even to this date, I still haven't done them. It's probably not best practice, and I wouldn't recommend it, but I ran out of time. I could have went to a pool, an indoor pool or somewhere, but I just never did. There's no real good excuse. Let's see here. Here's the map for the final day too. So this is Verdun to Scots Rapids. They never look like much, it looks like such a short distance, and that's pretty much your whole trip is just these little segments of river. But just 19 and a half miles that day, and that's pretty normal. I mean, it's kind of nice on the upper river because you got the campsites and the maps that you can use to kind of plot out your next point. If you're kind of wore out for the day, you can just stop at the next campsite you see on the map, or if you got weather rolling in early, which is what the deal was for this day. But so 19 and a half miles for that day. So maps to navigate. I got the maps for the upper river, so basically Lake Itasca down to Hastings, Minnesota. You can call the Minnesota DNR, the Department of Natural Resources, and request maps for the Mississippi River, basically from Itasca down to Hastings. That'll get you all of the printed maps that they have available. Beyond that, many people will use different apps on their phones or GPSs. I pretty much just use my phone and Google Maps. I use that Strava a lot since it was always tracking my distance. It always had kind of one of those colored maps, and that would preload, so that map would always kind of have the track of the river, and I did use that from time to time if I wasn't quite sure what the river was doing around all the islands and stuff once you get down further south. And but some people will buy the Army Corps of Engineer navigation maps, and there is use to those, but it's a big pack. I mean, it's a stack of pages, and you can burn them as you go or toss them as you go, mail them home as you go. I don't think that even if I was to do the trip again, I probably still wouldn't get the Army Corps of Engineer maps. I mean, they're helpful, but they're not necessary. The Mississippi is generally the biggest body of water that you're going to be on the whole way, and so as long as you just stay in the current, and then also on a non-flood year, so this was kind of a problem for me. I didn't have channel markers a good portion of the trip because they were either underwater or broke off and sitting on shore somewhere due to the flood. But you could theoretically follow the main shipping channel just by staying within the buoys. How much paddling did I do to prep? Almost none. Like I said, we had our last blizzard of 2019 2 weeks before I went. I think I was on the lake maybe 2 or 3 times before I actually went down the river. But the nice thing about doing the river is you don't need to do a lot of preparation. As long as you just take it easy the first few days, you're only going to be able to do under 20 miles or 20 miles a day anyway, and you'll start to build up to longer and longer days. But yeah, I mean, I left June 1st, so I didn't have a ton of time before. I live in Minnesota, if you didn't know, so I didn't have a ton of time between the end of a winter and the beginning of the trip to get out and do much paddling. Avenza maps, yeah, I've heard that a few times. I've never actually tried them. I've just never needed them. But I have heard that many times, Rick, that people use that. Do you download maps from Strava so you can use them without cell service? I never did download the maps. They seem to kind of download the map themselves, I guess. I don't really know. It seems like even when I would lose cell service, Strava would still track. A couple of times it lost my track, and you'd see a straight line across the map where it skipped the turns in the river. But I just I wasn't too worried about doing it. So I had my my Garmin GPS also doing tracking. I had 2-minute pings on that, and so that was always an option too if I needed to look back at the maps or I need to look at a map. I did have an actual GPS with me that I could text and communicate with people if I had no cell service. Had the SOS, so if I was ever in trouble, I could call for help through the GPS, which was kind of a cool feature. Thankfully, never needed it. Saw your entire trip, very impressive. A lot of respect for the amazing journey. Great job. Yeah, Damien, thank you. I appreciate that. Happy 21 to you as well. Happy New Year's to you and the fam. Yeah, it was a great trip, and I often find myself missing it quite a bit. So, could you do the lower Mississippi River in a week? It depends what you mean by the lower river. Technically, the lower river starts at Cairo, and that is the Ohio River confluence. And to go from there to the Gulf in a week, I don't know. I mean, there's people who can do the entire river in 18 days. That's the world record. That's a paddling team doing that. I think like the world record for a single person paddler is like 30 days or something like that. Doing the entire lower river in a week would be a huge undertaking. I mean, that's like 900 miles, so that'd be a pretty rough week. I would recommend taking more time and enjoying it. Gabe, happy New Year to you as well. So yeah, all right, cool. if you guys got nothing else, I plan to be back. I try to do every Friday at 6 p.m. I think seems to be a decent time, I guess. And we'll just go through, however many episodes we want to do each night. But yeah, thanks for dropping by, and kind of nice to have something to do during the winter here and reminisce about my time on the river. So y'all take care, and we'll catch you on the next one.